this is your walkthrough. So the front storage compartment here, you have your vacuum and all the pieces are underneath the bed inside, and you can hook it up here or inside and then turn it on right here. Right here is a gas line for your outside flat top grill, and a jack handle for to get the spare tire down. You have a place around the corner here to hook up a TV if you wish on the outside. Here's an outside spray port. It's a cold only, and once you connect into it, it's ready to rock and roll, no on and off switches. And below is your little point drains that you can gain access to behind the storage compartment inside here. Here is a place to put a third propane tank if you wish, or some people put a piece of wood down below and make it some storage. Underneath the kingpin, you have some storage, you have your 2 batteries, and your hydraulic system. And underneath the kingpin, you have the 2 light switches here, which activate the front cap lights. And then this light right here has its own little switch on it to turn it on and off. Around the corner here, we have the propane tanks. They're both full, ready to rock and roll, and also your battery disconnect switch. You want to disconnect the battery anytime you go to put it in storage that you're not plugged in, because the LP detector inside will draw the battery dead in about 3 to 4 days. And then the LP tank system here, you just basically turn them on and off by the top valves. And this is an automatic switchover valve. So whenever it's showing red, it's showing that the tank is empty or turned off. When it looks clear like that, that means you have the propane on and it's pressurized and it's ready to rock and roll. I recommend leaving 1 tank on and 1 tank off. That way you don't completely run out of propane. If both tanks are on, one will draw down empty and without your knowledge flip over to the other tank. So when you realize you're out of propane, you're completely out of propane. So I recommend having 1 on, 1 off. Use that tank until something doesn't light or isn't acting right. You'll come out and see this red. You just flip it over to the other tank, turn it on, and get that one filled. And then around the corner here is the water system, the more storage, and then you have a water pump and the converter, or the inverter. And then your jug for the water system inside, that strictly just goes to the refrigerator and also the water outlet by the kitchen sink. You have 2 adapters here, a 50 to a 30, and then a 30 to a 15, so you can actually plug the unit into a house outlet. This right here is your spray hose for the outside shower here that we see, and then also for the spray port on the other side. And then this is your water filter wrench. Over here is the water system and the jack system. So you got your outside shower, has hot and cold. Up above here is a solar panel where you can plug a solar panel in and run it out to trickle charge your batteries. This right here is a black tank flush. Anytime you operate a black tank flush, you want to make sure you're hooked up to a dump station with the black tank open, because if it's closed, you have the opportunity of overfilling the black tank because it's filling up if the valve's closed. That's something, whenever you're hooked up to a dump station with it open, you can run it for 5 minutes or 5 hours because it's just water in or water out. And then you have the city water connection. So nowadays you're basically going to hook your water hose into here, and depending on how the valves are turned is how the water system is going to work, from filling the fresh tank to using city water, winterizing, and everything in between. So down here you have a little diagram, and it shows you dry camping is going to be using the water pump. Power fill tank is how you fill the fresh tank to use the water pump. City water is city water, so if you have a water spigot at your campsite, you hook your water regulator up to it, hook your hose to it, and then your hose to the camper, and once you turn the water on, it's going to feed water through the system just like it would at your house. This light here just lets you know that the water pump is either on or off. And then up here is your leveling system. So to turn the leveling system on, you hit the power button. And to auto level, so I recommend auto leveling after you get the unit off the truck and all the rooms out. That's when you want to auto level. So I always recommend to run the rooms in and or out with the jacks up instead of down. So basically get there, get out, run all your rooms out, do the auto level, and then when you're ready to leave, you're gonna hit retract all, which is gonna bring just the 4 rear jacks up, allowing you to run the rooms in and hooking up to the truck. And you can see right now the 4 rear jacks are going up, and the 2 main jacks in the front are staying where they're at. So that's how you retract the 4 jacks to get it, get it on the truck and get the rooms in. Now, if you ever come across a time where you're auto leveling, but a jack leg or 2 runs out of stroke where it's trying to auto level, but the leg runs all the way down to the ground and it's still not level, and it goes into what we call a lockout mode. To get it out of lockout mode and get some blocks underneath the rear jacks and start all over again, all you do is hit retract all. So you hit retract all to get it out of lockout mode, and you hit retract all to bring the 4 rear jacks up to get it back on the truck. And then you got the external water pump switch here, and then your cable and satellite hookups there. Here's your furnace. Whenever it's on, just be careful because it does blow out hot air and it stays warm shortly after, so you don't accidentally burn yourself. Here is the water heater. It runs on gas and electric, and all the switches are inside. The main thing with this thing is you want to always make sure you have water in it before you turn it on electric. So the heating element, if it doesn't have water around it, it gets so hot it will break itself. So always make sure there's water in it before you turn it on. And the way that we fill it and drain it is basically to drain it, you're going to turn off your water system, turn off the water heater. I always recommend to go inside and turn the hot side of the kitchen faucet on, and that's going to purge all the water pressure you built up in the water heater out of the kitchen faucet, and then allowing you to take this plug out. So the plug is a 15/16 socket, and the reason you're opening up the kitchen faucet is to once again purge all the water pressure out, so when you do take that plug out, it doesn't spray a bunch of hot water at you. So the way to fill it is I always recommend hand threading the plug in because it's metal and plastic. Tighten it down, go inside and open up the hot side of the kitchen faucet, then turn your water on. So what that's going to do is the water's filling through the system, it's pushing all the air you trapped in the water heater out of the kitchen faucet. Then it's going to be like an air-water back and forth mixture, and then finally a nice smooth flow of water like you get at the house. When that occurs, you know that the water heater is completely full and ready to be turned on. If you ever want to double check it, you can hit the pop-off valve, and if water's shooting out of it, you know you're good to go. Right here is the back side of the refrigerator, mostly for me to get back here and work on it if I ever need to, or to check the water lines and things like that. Below it is the dump station. So below it here you have a dump station, and you have a black and a gray tank. The black tank is strictly the toilet, and the gray tank is going to be strictly the kitchen sink. And they're just push and pull valves. You push them in to close them and pull them to open them. This right here is a second black tank flush, which goes to the upper bathroom. And once again, anytime you use that, you want to make sure you're hooked up to a dump station with the black tank open so you don't flood the system. Back here, you got a lot of underneath storage, and on both sides have lights. Here is a compartment for your sewer hose, and there's one in there ready to go. And then back here is the 2 gray tanks and a black tank. So the front system is going to be strictly the toilet up there and the kitchen sink. Back here is going to be the shower, the bathroom sinks, and then the toilet. And then back here, you even have some more storage. It goes all the way through to the back area. You have a ladder on the back, which is nice. I recommend to get up on the roof at least twice a year to inspect the roof and the roof material and all the sealant up there. I always recommend like at the beginning and the end of every camping season. We got up there and inspected it this time, so you should be good. But come springtime, I recommend to get up there, wash it, inspect it to make sure all the ice, snow, and water sitting over it through the winter time didn't cause any damage. Out here you have your outside fridge, which is a 110 fridge only, so it's only going to start turning on and cooling down when you're plugged into the actual power cord. Got an outside sink, and then your stovetop, which has the gas valve around here, and it's all hooked up, ready to rock and roll. And to put it away, you just slide it on in there. Easy peasy. On this side, we have a spare tire where you crank down the spare tire if you need to. You got your outside speakers and some more storage. You have two awnings. They roll in, they roll out, obviously. I always recommend to roll these things up at nighttime and if you're physically not at the camper. The wind loves to get underneath these things and rip them off campers. So if it's a nice spring rain or a light rain, you still want to hang out outside. The arms, I recommend to tilt one side down of the awnings, and all you do is just pull the handle down. And it's going to tilt one side down so the water can run off one side or the other instead of billowing up on top, stretching the fabric, or causing damage. All four awning arms do the same thing. And then for the outside, last but not least is the fresh tank drain. And that's the white handle located underneath here. And to open and close it, once again, it's just a pull handle. You pull it, it opens, push it, it closes. The steps here, they're kind of the new thing. They're really nice. It prevents the camper from rocking and rolling when you're going in and out. Some of the main things about the steps is whenever you have them out, you want to make sure that they're laying flush against the door frame. If you have it tilted up, things like this, and you go to close the door, it's going to grab the bottom of the door and bend it out, dent it, causing damage. And the way that we put these away is you want to make sure the door is all the way open like you see here, and then you're simply just going to lift the steps up. And it just locks into place. I always recommend closing the legs so they'll be all the way closed. So when you bring the steps down, the steps are most likely just going to kind of be hanging there. So as they're hanging there, that's when you're going to pull the pins, lower the leg to hit the ground, and put it in the next best hole. You do that on both sides, and since you already know that it's hanging there, it's as far as it can be down, and you won't cause damage to the door. Besides that, we can go on inside.